Thank you very much. And I'm not sure if my presentation will be good, like she said, but I will try my best. And before preparing my presentation, I got a little bit wrong information. Not information. I guessed that the audience would be PhD students and faculty members, not the masters and some undergraduate students. So I have something in math here, so you may not like it, but we will see. We will see. So if you don't understand it, please ask me. The title of a presentation is Marketing National Parks and Congestion. It keeps changing. It was not the impact of marketing to boost visitors to national parks and so on. So now, this is not final, by the way. Today, I make the title this way, so Marketing National Parks and Congestion. And Tatiana Drogova is my student, who is the first author of this paper, and Paul Jacques is another colleague in the department. Okay, the location of Utah first. I'm from Utah, and Utah is right here in red on the map of the US. So the neighboring states are Idaho from the north, and Nevada to the west, Arizona to the south, and the Colorado is the east side, and we have Wyoming over there. And the Logan is the name of a city where Utah State is located. It is right here. I'm not sure if you can take a look here. It's a very small rural area town, like a population is 150,000. And the Salt Lake City is right here with the star. That is the state capital. And well, the Salt Lake City is the largest city in Utah, but the population is only 2.5 million. So what is the population of Taichung? 3 million? 5 million?
No.
I don't know. 2 million.
2 million. The total population in Utah is 3 million. So which means that everyone live here. So which means that most of other parts of the Utah right here is rural area. No one lives there. Well, maybe thousands of people. Okay. The Utah has 5 national parks, which are Arches National Park, Bryce Canyon, Canyonlands, Capitol Reef, and Zions. And here is the location of the 5 national parks. Again, here's the Utah. This is the southern part of Utah. So we have this is the Las Vegas in Nevada, and we have Zions National Park here, Bryce Canyon, Capitol Reef, and the Canyonlands, and Arches National Park. And as you may see, the Zion National Park is very close to the highway. The blue line right here is the major highway, and there's another one here. So I may say Zion National Park, and transportation-wise, Bryce Canyon is close to the big city like Las Vegas, and transportation access is pretty easier to the visitors. But not like Capitol Reef and Canyonlands. They are very located, very remote place. Please remember that one first. The tourism in Utah is very important. In 2018, we have 15 million park visitors to the national park. As I said, the population of Utah is 3 million, meaning that 5 times larger than the population over there. And visitors spent $1.2 billion last year. And you can see the bar chart right here, so visitor spending keeps increasing. And then these expenditures supported roughly 18,000 jobs, especially in the southern part of Utah, and $1 billion in value added, and $1.8 billion in economic output. In short, tourism, especially in the national park in the Utah, is very important to the Utah economy. So this is another chart to show that the tourism in Utah is very important. As you can see, California has the largest visitor spending, but California has something else, right? They produce lots of vegetables, milk, and so on. But Utah doesn't have much. So again, tourism is very important. That is why the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Development has promoted Utah recreation assets, national parks, 5 national parks, and implemented ad campaigns named as Mighty 5. Because Utah has a 5 national park, we have a nickname as a Mighty 5. So Mighty 5 is the name of ad campaign, which began in 2013. That's the website of a Mighty 5. So again, Mighty 5 is the ad campaign to attract out-of-state visitors. Let me go back to the map again. So here, the neighboring countries, so western part of the U.S., like Washington State, Oregon, California, Arizona, Nevada, they are big target area. So the Mighty 5 consists of some national park image on TV, website, and billboard, magazines, and so on. And I'm going to show you some examples. So this is the one of the Mighty 5 ad campaign on magazine or buildings or parking lot. And we have a video here. Let me show you. Okay,
Utah, 5 national parks. First, Zion. You're walking, the ground rises, the ground drops, the ground becomes water. Next, grass. You're riding a mule. You're riding a mule under giant orange brick castles. You are not dreaming.
Yeah, let's do what it's speaking.
Forget this.
Can you repeat again? You can stop the word why.
You'll be seen around. Take a path you've never taken and see the stars for the first time. Now for canyon lands. You're riding a bike. You're riding a bike on Mars. And now you're riding rapids. Class 2, Class 3, Class 4. Classic. Arches, 5:32 a.m. Some things are worth racing the sunrise for. The horizon lightens. You're around the corner. Whoa. This is life elevated. The Mighty 5. 5 iconic parks, one epic experience. Plan your trip at visitutah.com.
Review again.
Okay. So then,
Picture this. Your next trip. Utah. 5 national parks. First, Zion. You're walking. The ground rises. The ground drops. The ground becomes water. Next, Rex. You're riding a mule. You're riding a mule under giant orange strip castles. You are not dreaming. You will not forget this. On to Capitol Reef. Take the scenic route. The really scenic route. Take a path you've never taken and see the stars for the first time. Now for Canyonlands. You're riding a bike. You're riding a bike on Mars. Now you're riding rapids. Class 2, Class 3, Class 4. Classic. Arches, 5:32 a.m. Some things are worth racing the sunrise for. The horizon lightens. You're around the corner. Whoa. This is life elevated. The Mighty 5. 5 iconic parks, one epic experience. Plan your trip at visitutah.com.
if you Google Mighty 5 in the YouTube site, you will see much more related videos. If you want, you can try it. How can I make a slideshow?
Slideshow?
So again, the Mighty 5 was designed as a traditional market promotion program, marketing, to attract more visitors to the 5 national parks. So, well, I just write something here. Marketing campaign is the demand management, to increase the demand for a good or service, or shift the demand to time and space. We may use the marketing strategy to reduce the demand that is called demarketing, like anti-smoking or anti-drunk driving, and so on. I believe you know what I am saying here. So that is the Mighty 5. Now the question, is the Mighty 5 successful? As I said, it began 2013, and it looks like it. So I plot the number of visitors over time from 1993, I think, and this is the number of visitors in arches. For some reason, the number of visitors start rising after 2005, but as you can see, the dotted line right here is 2013. As you can see, we have a very steep change over all 5 national parks. So based on the plots, I may say we can see a strong upward shift. So Mighty 5 seems working very well. And the second question I have is that whether there are any different effects across national parks. So which one has more impact in terms of number of visitors, which one not. So I have these big 2 questions. So to answer, the goal of this research is to examine the different effects of Mighty 5. That's the basic goal. To make it happen, to solve the problem, so we take a look at other national parks in the U.S. And in the U.S. we have 50 national parks. So I plot them all, and I found something complicating factor which I don't want to have. So I plot some representative national parks in terms of visitors. So this is the Grand Canyon, which is one of popular, famous national park in Arizona. As you may see, after 2013, the number of visitors increases. And Grand Teton, Wyoming, I have a similar upward shift. And Great Smoky is a pretty popular national park in North Carolina and Tennessee area. And Rocky Mountain here as well, Yosemite, California, Yellowstone, Wyoming, and Montana. So I can say almost all the national parks have a strong upward shift after 2013. So something happened around 2013. So I cannot say the increases in visitors in 5 national parks in Utah is not because of Mighty 5. I'm not sure. There might be something going on. I may say background effect. Okay, so let's think about effect of Mighty 5 a little bit more. The effect of Mighty 5 can be assessed using the traditional difference and difference approach. Now I'm a little bit hesitant to explain this because we have most of the students, audiences are master students.
But maybe try to learn, maybe get some idea for what is
So the difference in difference approach is basically we are comparing the treated group, meaning that national parks which are exposed to the Mighty 5. So we have a 5 national park in Utah. We have a ad campaign that is a treated unit or treated group. And the other 45 national parks outside Utah, they are control group. They do not have any ad campaign. They are not exposed to ad campaign after 2015. So we are using the medical term like a treatment, treated group, control group, and control units. So the difference is simply compare treated units, national parks which is exposed to the Mighty 5 ad campaign, and the other national park which was not exposed to the Mighty 5 or ad campaign. And we can compare the number and see if there's any difference. That is the basic idea of a diff and diff. So we are trying to compare the number of visitors before and after Mighty 5. So here is the basic equation we want to estimate. Say Park 0 is the treatment unit for national park, which was exposed to the promotional marketing like a Mighty 5 since 2013. So YJT here is the number of visitors in Park J in time t or in year t. And D2013, D Park 0, and an interaction, they are all dummy variables to indicate that the D2013 will be 1 after 2013, and D Park 0 is 1 for the Park 0. So when we, of course we have other factors. For the park, the control units which were not exposed to the campaign, so the D Park 0 is 0, right? And before 2013, the 2013 dummy is a 0. So this is a 0, this is a 0. Product combinations, the interaction is 0, so we have only beta 0, right? So that is the simply number of visitors for the control units. After 2013, now D2013 becomes 1, but still D Park 0 is a 0 because this is control units, so we have only this term. So you have a beta 0 plus delta 0. So now the difference between these two, before and after, is delta 0, right? For the Park 0, that's a treatment unit. Now D Park 0 is 1. The D2013 is 0. The distance is 0. So we have only beta 0 plus beta 1. That's the number of visitors for national park, which was exposed to the marketing campaign. After 2013, now all the dummy variables are 1. So here 1, this is 1 again, that's the 1. So we have all 4 parameters. Difference between these two is right here, delta 0 plus delta 1. Now, the difference between national park in Utah and national park outside Utah is right here. Before 2013, there's a beta 1. After 2013, beta 1 plus delta 1. And difference between these two is delta 1. Now, this is the impact or effect of Mighty 5 or marketing promotion. So when we collect the data set and run the regression, if delta 1 is positive and statistically significant, then we can conclude that Mighty 5 was effective. Is it yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as I said, however, there's a big problem. To compare the national parks, so national park in the Utah, like Zion's National Park, I want to compare the number of visitors to Smoky National Park in North Carolina. The problem is, I listed here, they are not the same. To compare, you must have identical units. Treatment group and control group must be identical or very close. Otherwise, we are comparing, as I show right here, we are comparing orange to the apple. We might have a wrong conclusion. Okay? And so there's some degree of ambiguity about how control group is chosen. That's the big challenge. So I used synthetic control method, which relaxes a restrictive assumption of difference and indifference. The basic idea of SCM is that now we have a control group, 45 national parks. I'm going to combine them together somehow and create one national park, which is very close to the national park in Utah in terms of weather, latitude, and distance to the largest city, gas price, number of visitors, and so on. There are some variables which describe the characteristics of a national park. Now we're going to combine them together and create. Now that's why we name it as a synthetic control. So let's see. So now I have some slides for PhD students. Let's try. Let's say YJT is a visitor. We have numbers in national park. Now we have J+1 national park, because I start with 0, and 0 is the national park in Utah, which is the treatment unit, national park. I name it as a park 0. Say YN is the visitor in national park without marketing campaign. So N means no marketing. And YI, so I means intervention. So that's the number of visitors in national park which was exposed to the treatment, -5. Okay. Of course, before 2013, the visitor without marketing is the same as visitor with the marketing, right? Because there's no marketing. It should be the same. Not a problem here. So the effect of marketing campaign on the park 0 will be the number of visitors after 2013. We can find this number because this is observable. And minus visitor without marketing. If we can find out this number, the difference between these two is the effect or impact of marketing campaign. Does it make sense? The first one is the observed number of visitors with marketing. We can find the number. The second part is the number of visitors without marketing. Now we don't know, right? We have to find it. It's unobserved. The difference between these two is the impact of marketing. Now the question is how to estimate this guy. The synthetic control method has this idea. So when we estimate unobserved visitor without marketing, so number of visitors without marketing in Zion's National Park, for example, which is weighted average of other national park outside Utah. So here, the 0 is the park 0, which was exposed to the marketing. And number of visitors without marketing is the weighted sum of visitors outside national parks. Now question becomes how to estimate weight, WJ, right? Here's the way. Say we have J weight, because we have a J control units, the national parks outside Utah. And then this is the weighted average of characteristics of a national park. The Z include something like park budgets, distance to the metropolitan areas, weather, gas price to measure the travel cost, and so on. So Z is the variable to describe the national parks. So this is the weighted average of national parks characteristics. Now make this as close as much to the national parks park 0 characteristics. That's the way to find out W. Sometimes we may use outcome variable as well. Okay. So say we have J weights, and then this is the variable to describe the characteristics of a national park in Utah. Now I assume that there are K characteristics like a weather, distance to the metropolitan area, that's the market, and the transportation cost, and so on. And then this is the collection of same variable for other national parks. So I have a J national park with a K characteristics. Okay, I name it as a X1. And then this is a weighted characteristics. This is the characteristics for the Park 0, the national park which has the marketing campaign, and this is the weighted average. So now we are trying to make this close. So right here, X0 is the characteristics to describe Park 0, and second part, X1W, is the weighted combination of all the characteristics outside Park 0. So that is the distance, you may say, or error, or residual. Well, that is not residual because this is not regression. The synthetic control is to find out W. Now W is a decision variable we are looking for. That minimize the size of this, right? It could be minus, it could be plus. So what's the way to make it happen? Squared, like a regression approach. How can we make this squared? And then add them all. Okay, now I have a VM here. Is another weight that reflects the relative importance that we assigned mth variable, which means that now here, as I said, I have a k variable. Among them, like weather might be the key variable to explain the national park. Now we're gonna put more weights on weather, right? Okay. And then, because we are using the matrices, now we're gonna use transpose and another one, that's the squared. Now we are minimizing that expression. Let me skip this one. So we are minimizing, this is right here, square root of a distance, sorry, not a distance, square of sum of squared errors, and now we are minimizing. And here's the construct restrictions. Sum of all the weight is 1, so we are looking for weighted average, and weight must be greater than 0 and less than 1. Now we can ask computer, right? And computer will find all the values of J, and then we can create synthetic or hypothetical or fake Park 0. Once we know all the information, now we can use those weights. Now I have a start here, and then find out that now this is the visitor without marketing, because W star is the way to minimize the national park's characteristics before the marketing campaign. And there are a couple of softwares like R since package or Stata since command, and you can do it. Okay, so I have the demonstration, so I will show you. Okay, here is I just made up some data set. So Park 0 is a treatment unit. The Park 0 is a national park in Utah. Now we have, the Park 0 is exposed to the marketing. So I collect the number of visitors right here from 2010 to 2015. Say marketing campaign began 2015, right? So I have 3 years of observations before marketing campaign, right? And I have a 3 observation after campaign. So this is a treatment national park. Now I have 3 other national parks and they were not exposed to the marketing strategy. They are outside the Utah. And here, I don't know what it is, but let's say some variable to describe national park, like a weather, location, or distance to the big city. So Park 0 has this and the other parks right there. So that's the data that I have.
Sorry, how do you
Yes.
pick up the part 1, part 2, part 3? Randomly pick up them or?
In this study, I include all of national parks in the Utah.
So
Sorry,
you-
in the US.
Why three different?
Just for the demonstration, I picked just 4 national parks and made up the number. So this is all the parks I have, like a 50 national park in the study. So I plotted. This is a treatment units. So after 2013, we have a positive increase in the number of visitors. Park 1, 2, and 3, all the park has positive shift after 2013. So, as I said, because we have 3 national parks which are in control group, so we have 3 weights, like this. W1, W2, W3. If we add them all, it should be 1, right? That's the weights. Okay. Now, x0 is the vector containing the values of pre-intervention, which is 2010 to 2012, those numbers right here. So Park 0 is the treatment units. Now I collect z variable before 2013. So I have 3 variables right here, 4.4 and 4.6. That's what I have up to here. And then I add 2010 visitors as one more predictor or characteristics to describe Park 0. You may add old outcome variables as well, that is fine. Or you don't want to use it, that is okay too. So now here I'm using 2010 visitor number as one of the predictors. Now I have 4 numbers. So that is the characteristics for Park 0. Now, similarly, I collect all the predictor variables for 3 parks and visitor numbers for Park 1, 2, and 3 is right there. So, that's the difference between pre-intervention characteristics of the Park 0, and this is the weighted combination of all the characteristics of Park 1 to Park 3. I just put all the numbers and do some math. Then I will minimize this one and find out W1 to W3. This is a simple minimization question. So we can use optimization routine like linear program. No, it is not linear, it is a non-linear. We may use non-linear programming to find out the values of weights. Here, so this is the predictor for the Park 0 in year 2010 minus combination of characteristics in 2010 from all other 3. Park and squared. This is the 2011, 2012, and the visitor number 2010 because now we have 2010 visitors as another predictor variable. And then this is a restrictions. We can use Excel solver. Is there anyone who knows Excel solver?
I don't think they
No? Okay. All right. So let me show you. So I create Excel. How can I remove this ribbon? Make it large. Or full screen if I may use the full screen.
You want the bigger view.
The larger, yes, a view.
Right, on the right. below the button, below the
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, right here. Oh, there we go. Oh, that's too large. Yeah, as I said, this is the same computer in the US. So I should know.
It's the same Excel I have. Okay. So this is the digital number. It's the same number I just showed you in my slides. And I have 3 parts. I name it donor port because it's a kind of donor. And then here's the characteristics. Now here is the weight. I have 3 weights. I can say 0.2. Yeah. Let's say, okay. What did I do?
Chinese, Chinese.
So how can I type the number?
Control space.
Control. A shift. Yeah. Doesn't know where. Control shift.
中文的弄成英文，这是中文。
Let's say I type 333, just any weight I want. So this is a changing cell. Excel will decide. I will ask Excel to find out the number. And this is sum of weights. Sum of these 3 numbers. Now, as I said, it should be 1. Now it is not 1. Let me change this guy. If I have 1/3 as a weight, meaning that now I will have a 33% of a value from part 1, part 2, part 3. In other words, just a simple average of all other 3 parts. And then say that is the synthetic part 0. Now I want to compare. That's what I'm doing here. Right? So here, this is the part 0. And part 1, pre-intervention characteristics, I collect them all. Now I have weighted predictors here, which is, now this is the characteristics of part 1, 2, and 3. I'm using some product function, which is the weight W1 times part 1, 2 times part 2, and part 3. And I have 5.418. Now that's the simple average of these 3 numbers because I'm using 130 here, right? And then this is the characteristics for the part 0 in 2010. And difference between these 2 numbers, this is the weighted one, and this is a real. And we want to make this guy very close. That's the goal. So here's the difference. Just a simple difference between the characteristic of part 0 minus weighted predictors and squared. And then add them all. And I have a digital number right here, by the way. I did a similar job. This is a weighted digital number in 2010. This is the difference. And squared and add them all. So now I would like to minimize this one. Then I can say, I can create synthetic part 0, which is very close to those 4 numbers, right? Now, let me open Solver. But, where is it? Okay. Data tab.
Okay.
What is the data tab? Oh, it's the data, okay.
模拟分析啊，还要那个资料的那个分析，This one?
No.
No. Search the goal.
Solver. We had the meeting the other day. I explained it. What is solver? Amy knows it. I don't think you have a solver here. You have to
You have to
important.
do the add in.
Yeah, yes, add in, yes. Yes, go to add in. I don't think so.
创球姐，这个。
Do you have any question, by the way, so far? So is it clear to you? Sure?
Okay, I know that the students in NCHU are very smart. I had an experience when I came here last June and I have a seminar like this. They were brilliant. That's the one of the reasons I come back. Cool, yes. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So this is the solver in Excel. So, okay.
The first is add.
Yeah.
Second is change.
So here, the first cell right here in yellow, right here, that's the target cell. I want to do something here. I guess this is a maximize and minimize. I'm trying to minimize it, to minimize the value in this cell. So this cell is a sum of squared differences. And this difference comes from here, right? So this is a predicted. Up there we have a weights. I just put 1/3 as an initial value. And then this is the average of these three numbers. And it is a difference. And here is a changing cells. Now I'm asking Excel to try, you see that right here? I'm asking Excel to try various combination of values to minimize the value right here. For example, Excel might try
I think you should delete one.
oh, okay. What should I do? Let me see.
I think you should delete one. You should delete one.
Oh, I deleted it. Okay. I can put it back. So, for example, Excel might try 0.5 here, and 0 here, and 0.5 here. Now, meaning that we discard part number 2, which is not helpful to create synthetic part 0, right? I don't remember the value. And what was the value? It's a 5.506. So this is not a good choice in terms of this one, right? There are unlimited number of combinations, of course. So there's a way to find out numbers quickly, right? I'm not sure if you learn it or not, but there's a way. That is algorithm, right? Excel knows how to do it. So let's ask Excel to do so. I like it. And here's the restrictions. So some of all the numbers must be 1, and I believe this is less than equal 1. And that's a non-linear optimization and find the solution. I guess this one. Now Excel find optimal solution, which is 0.75, 0.16, and then must. Now those numbers minimize, and I don't see the big change here, by the way. That's the way. Oh, now I'm wrong. I should press this. Now, as you can see, the difference or errors or the square root of sum of squared errors are only 0.016. It was a 5 something, right? Now, those predictors are very close to these 4 numbers. So these weights can create hypothetic or synthetic or fake park zero using pre-intervention period. Now, using those weights, now let's calculate the number of visitors after 2013. So this is what I did. Now, using those parameters, that's the weights for Park 1, Park 2, Park 3, and here's the actual visitor numbers in 2013. Find out weighted average, which is the visitor number for hypothetical, again, synthetic Park 0, which is 11.929. What is the actual? It was a 12.85. So here I found out the difference. So this is the difference between actual visitor and visitor for synthetic Park 0. So this is the actual visitor with the marketing. This is the visitor without marketing using those weights. So now I can say safely 0.92 is the impact of marketing. Right? I did it again here, similar job, I do it again. Now I plot it here. So this is the actual visitor number. And the dotted line is the visitor number for the synthetic Park 0. Before 2013, because we made it that way, the number of visitors must be close, right? They have to move together, something like this. That's what we did. And beyond 2013, if we have like this, meaning that marketing plan or ad campaign was effective because actual visitor is increasing comparing to dotted line. That is the basic idea behind synthetic control. Now, this data or some other software can handle like 50 parks with like 25 years data set. And now I have only one predictor. Now I may have like 12 predictors. It'll take time, but we can handle that. This is what I can drink.
Yes, of course. You can bring them all. It's for you, please.
Thank you. So, here's the data. So I collect a set of predictors, like a Z in a demonstration. They're based on the paper done by Hendrickson and Johnson. So, for example, there are many more, but among them, budget of the national park. As a proxy for the park popularity, when park age, the size of park, and distance to the big city, because that's the market. If the national park is located close to the big city, then you will have more visitors, of course. And per capita income in the nearest population base, the rich people is more national parks, of course. Gas price to measure the traveling cost region-wide, and according degree days, and number of MPs within 1,000 miles, like a competition, and so on. And here's what I did. Here's the results. The dark line is the actual vegetation. And the dotted line or dashed line is a synthetic counterpart. Look at the Arches National Park. After 2013, now we can see that -5 might be effective. So we have more visitors. Now we have a positive upward shift in a synthetic counterpart, meaning that there was something happened, so that many visitors visit national park across the nation right? But Arches Park, the impact of Arches Park was much stronger than other national park, which is because of, we conclude that is because of Modify Ad campaign. Look at the Bryce Canyon, same story, Canyonlands, Capitol Reef, and Zion. To see the difference more clearly, I plot the gap. The gap plot is the distance between these two, okay? As I said, before 2013, the gap must be around 0, right? Because that's the way to construct weights, right? We are minimizing the errors. Now, 2013, we have a big positive numbers, meaning that Modify has been effective, but the Zion is not that high. Look at this. It's only, I forgot the unit. This is a log variable, I guess. It's a log 2. So I wrote it here. So before 2013, 1993 to 2012, the average actual synthetic gap for each park ranged between -2% to 3.3%. So meaning that weights were found pretty good, right? Now we construct synthetic parks, which is very close to the national parks in Utah. After 2013, now the gap in vegetation ranges between roughly 5% in Zion to 29% in Bryce Canyon, meaning that now Modify Ad campaign has been effective. The result right here, by the way, is not the statistical approach. It is not the regression. It is just optimization, find out the weights, and plot the gap. So we cannot say anything about like it was statistically significant or not. We cannot say so. This is what not me, the authors who developed SSCM propose placeable test. The placeable test is simply reassign Modify and do the SSCM again. So meaning that, let me go back to the demonstration. The placeable test is this. Now here, Park 0 was treatment units, right? We know that because we have a marketing campaign after 2013. Now, suppose that, say, Park 1 has marketing campaign. There was no marketing campaign, just say, and then run the SCCM and find out synthetic Park 1 and compare the actual number and a synthetic counterpart. If marketing campaign was effective, then the difference between actual visitor for the Park 1 must be similar to the synthetic counterpart. You see what I'm saying? Otherwise, the gap between actual actual visitor in Park 0 and synthetic counterpart is just an accident, right? So in this case, because we have 3 parks, we will have 3 different SCCM. I have 50 national parks, so I'm doing 50 different SCCM for all the parks. Say they have, so what if they have a marketing campaign? And plot the gap right here. So the dotted line right here, this is for the Arches National Park, and the gray line is the gap between national park and synthetic counterpart. Now, as you can see, all these other synthetic numbers are below the Arches gap line, meaning that the gap in vegetation in Utah is, how do I say, here, significantly above the gray line. Now, we can say something about in terms of statistics. So now I can say statistically significant. How about this? I cannot read. It is Canyonlands. Now Canyonlands right here, and all other place for tests is under this line, right? And here too. But look at this. This is a Zions National Park, not so much, because we have a bunch of gray line right there. There are some national park where visitor increase faster than Zions National Park. So the increase in visitor in Giants National Park, because we have a positive gap, that may not be because of Mighty 5. You can conclude it that way. Or we can try post and pre-Mighty 5 MSPE. The MSPE is right here. That is the root mean squared prediction errors. So this is the impact, right? So this is the hypothetical or synthetic visitor number, and this is the actual visitors. And find out the average squared, and find out average, and take a square root. So root mean squared prediction error. Let me go back to the Excel sheet and let me show you. The RMSP right here. This is the synthetic visitor number, and actual number is right there, and squared, and then add them all and take a square root. So that is another way to measure the errors between actual number and predicted or synthetic national park, right? Now we may have two types of RMSPE. This is the pre-RMSP, before 2013. I can do that, find the RMSP using those numbers. That is the post-RMSPE. If these numbers are significant, post-RMSPE must be larger, right? If these numbers are not significant, post-RMSPE will be similar to the pre-RMSPE, this one. Does it make sense? Okay. That is what I did right here. So using post and pre-RMSPE and find out the ratio. So pre-MSP here, so MSP before 2013, this is MSP after 2013. As I said, if the increase in visitor is significant, the ratio must be large because this is larger, much larger than pre-MSPE. And I plot here. So I plot all 50 national park, and Arch is located third. That's the ratio. So I can have roughly 6%. We can interpret that number as p-value in a regression. So in case of arches, we have roughly 6% significant. So the increase in visitor in Arches Park is significant at 6%. It is a little bit larger than a traditional p-value, right? We are using 5% or sometimes 1%, right? How about Bryce Canyon? 6% again. Canyonlands, 2%. It was number one. We have a 50 national parks. It was number one. So now I can say safely, the visitor number increases in Canyonlands is statistically significant, and the Mighty 5 has been very effective for the Canyonlands. Capital Reef, number one, Zions right here, meaning that pre-MSPE and post-MSP are not that different. So even though Zion has more visitors, but I cannot say that is because of Mighty 5. Okay. So increased vegetation has been found at arches if we are using 10% significance level, because I have only 50 national parks. Bryce Canyon, Canyonlands, and Capitol Reef, but not the Zion. So the positive increase in Zion National Park might be driven by a national trend, not due to the promotional effect. That's the conclusion we have. Now, based on that, we may have different implications. I got this picture is last May. Have you seen this picture, by the way? This is the summit of Mount Everest. Can you believe this? This is a Mount Everest, and 2 people died because they have to wait here to go to the summit. So if I remember correctly, 2 climbers died. So this is the kind of symbol of over-tourism. Have you heard about over-tourism? Many places very crowded. How about the summer lake? Is it crowded?
It's crowded in the weekend.
So the local people over there may not like more visitors, even though they support local economy, right? U.S. national parks have similar problem. So popular national parks are very crowded. This is the entrance of Zion National Park. You can see the car right here. The Zion National Park has a very good camping site, but you have to make a reservation in January. That's a 6-month ruling. So you cannot make a reservation before, more than 6 months apart. So if you want to visit Zion National Park and have a camp, you have to make a reservation in January. So it's over tourism. So U.S. National Park Services are using demarketing strategy. Go somewhere, not the national park. And because there are many reasons. I say here the over tourism. Because over tourism, there are wide variety of ecological impacts, like affecting soils, vegetation, wildlife, water, air, wildfire, and so on. So now, based on our finding here, is that what if we have the using marketing campaign, we can help send visitors to less congested park located in remote regions. Let me go back to the map I have. As I said, Zion is very crowded. The number of visitors is like 4 million annually. But a remote area right here, Capitol Reef and Canyonlands, the number of visitors is less than 1 million, like 25% of visitors in Zion National Park. So it's crowded right here. Again, the reason is that because it's close to the major highway, and Las Vegas is very close. Many, well, I don't want to say this, but many Chinese visit Los Angeles. Is right here, somewhere here. It's like a 3-hour driving to the Las Vegas. So they came to the LA and go to Las Vegas, and enjoy gamble for a day, and using a shuttle bus and visit Zion National Park. And then go right here, this is the Grand Canyon National Park, and move down here and visit the Grand Canyon National Park, go back home. So why don't we use marketing campaign and send them to remote area, not the Zion National Park? And it might work, as I showed you right here. It works for the remote area. Okay, where is it? Here. But not the Zion National Park. But that's the kind of implication of this study. Okay, any question?
Any question? Anything you
I'm not sure if I did a good job to deliver the my presentation to you.
So normally, how many days the tourists to visit the science park? 1 day trips or?
No, it's more like 3 or 4 days. The Americans stay there like a week.
Give them
Some
1
day
day.
visit Utah, get 5 national parks.
So what's inside? Is the park? Do they just like Disneyland? They have the shops, any cute animal?
Not, to be honest, I did not know.
Neither.
But it's kind of desert area, so there's nothing there. Just a scenery like a Mars. As I showed you, in the video. Let me show you some more pictures.
It's you.
My It looks like this. And the area is a national park. The developing is highly restricted. There's something like this. So there's a campsite and that's all. And you can trail, hiking, climbing, and you may enjoy mountain biking. Okay. Or this is Arch National Park. And something like this. There's another park. This is near the Arches National Park. This Arches right here. Something like this. So again, nothing there. And I visited this area, and there's only one hotel and nothing around in a 2-hour driving area. So just stay at the hotel, have a meal, take a nap, and have a meal again, and take a nap. It is very peaceful.
So why is it strategy there?
Zion's National Park. As I said, only Zion's National Park is congested and crowded, which is very close to the highway, as I said, and close to Las Vegas. That's the main reason. And it's beautiful, of course. Everyone loves the Zion's National Park. But the visitors do not go to the remote places because it takes time, like 5 hours driving. They do not like it. And this is the famous arch, and it's a symbol of the Utah. So we have arch on the license plate, the vehicle's license plates. This one.
So they have a shuttle bus inside who will take you here.
I believe so. Especially in Zion's National Park, yes, there is a shuttle bus to the Las Vegas, from Las Vegas to Las Vegas.
No, I mean in the
Inside?
park, inside. If you live in a hotel and if you want to visit some place in the national park, no, not to
You
walk.
have to walk or bike, or you use your own car.
Own car.
I believe shuttle bus in a short distance from this campsite to other campsite, not to the somewhere like shopping center.
You have a question? Anyone have a question? Can ask. Okay, good.
Hello, Professor Kim.
Yes.
I want to ask a question. That is, your marketing strategy, like Mighty Five, want to increase the people to get to the national park,
Mhm.
but it causes a problem, over tourism problem.
Could be, yes.
Yeah, so it might be a little bit 那个叫什么 矛盾叫什么？
So what I wanna say here is that coordinate marketing campaign very well. So send visitors to the remote places, not the crowded place. So based on the founding here, we can do that because the national parks in the remote area like Canyonlands, Bryce Canyon and Canyonlands, they have a meaningful visitor increase, right? So you can coordinate marketing campaign. Say, do not go to the Zion National Park, instead visit Canyonlands. The Canyonland is much better.
So does it work now?
We have not started yet. This is kind of a suggestion to the policymakers. Look at this. We have a Mighty 5 ad campaign. It has been effective, but not for the Zion National Park. Some places, remote area like Canyonlands and Bryce Canyon. So why don't we make a marketing campaign more coordinated marketing campaign and send more visitors to remote area, not the Zion already congested national park. Why don't we do that? That's the kind of a policy suggestion to the policymakers, and that's the conclusion of this paper.
Okay, thanks.
It's very quiet. Is anyone have a question?
Yeah, I remember that there are some PhD students who are interested in SCM and a different diff.
Okay, and Professor Kim,
Yes.
I'm just a little bit curious about if they have any lag effect, like we can estimate the effect of 2014 or 2015.
Because as we know that
Yeah,
in the literature there's a policy evaluation in DID, and some of the previous literature say that we can consider the lag effect because maybe the first year of the ad campaign cannot be so effective. So maybe there's another effect after a year, or after a year there will be much more significance than the campaign is just done right now.
So the marketing campaign in 2013 has an impact on 2014 and 2015.
Yes.
And it is included actually right here because we have a gap between actual visitors and synthetic counterparts. So that, synthetic control already considers those lagged change. And the Mighty 5 campaign is still going on right now. So perhaps the number, the gap right here might be the impact of 2013 and 2014 as well. And keep accumulating. The impact is accumulated over time. And I didn't say here, by the way, we stopped analyzing the data up to 2015. The reason is that in 2016 or 2017, U.S. government started their own national park marketing campaign, like national 100 years of national parks, something like that. So number one, the first national park is Yellowstone. It was 100 years ago. So now U.S. government start promoting to visit national parks. So we may have some kind of confounding impact after 2016, 2017. So we stop there.
I understand. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Professor Kim.
Yes.
I have another question that is, I have two questions. One is, I think the synthetic control method I think it's really similar to the propensity score matching with the difference in difference.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just want to know what's the difference from the both
Can you explain a little bit more about
propensity score matching? The it's really similar because it's also developed from DID or similar to DID.
Okay.
The concept is similar, but what's the difference is propensity score matching. We need to calculate the matching score, which means we need to calculate the control group score and the treatment group score, and which the score, both of the score which is similar, we can match the two kinds of group. I don't understand.
So you're saying that now as the big problem in DID is that there's no good control group.
Yeah,
And now we have a treated unit which is very unique.
yeah,
That is the main reason for us not to use DID. Now propensity matching is that now we're gonna try to use
find
find good control group to use,
to compare.
DID.
Yeah.
right? Now DID is the regression model. Matching method tell us that those control groups are good for DID, but still DID is a regression. Synthetic control is that now we are finding out, you're right, we are looking for good control group, first of all. Second of all, using those control group, create hypothetical park zero, not the regression, and then compare the distant numbers. You see the difference? You're right, synthetic control method starts with DID, very similar one, with a little bit different approach. Again, SCM is not the regression approach.
Because in August we attend another lecture which plays in Zhongzhan University.
Okay.
They say synthetic model which we use because we cannot really divide it, the control group and treatment group. So
We cannot define
we
which
can
one is.
is control group or treatment group. The professor said that, but
Okay.
I cannot make sure about that.
I'm not sure what he want to say,
Yeah.
but in this paper, in this research, the treated unit is pretty clear. 5 national parks in Utah, and other 45 national parks outside Utah are control group. And you may guess that the many national parks in the western area play a role, key role to create synthetic national park in Utah. Of course, it's a similar weather, similar market situation, distance to the big cities, and the gas prices and so on. Not the national parks in Alaska or northeastern part of the U.S.
And my another question is, we would like to know more about the placeable test.
A place for test.
Yeah.
The place for test is simply is to repeat SCM. Okay, here the part 0 is the treated units. There was a marketing campaign in 2013, right? So we're using these 3 parks, create synthetic park 0 and compare, right? That's the basic idea. The placebo test is that now, say Park 1 has a marketing campaign. There was no marketing campaign, just say, and run an SCM. And find out hypothetic or synthetic Park 1 using those parks. Not this one, these 2. Well, in this case, that may not work because we have very few control group, but if we have more, we can do that, right? So using the numbers right here, create hypothetical or synthetic Park 1 and find out the difference right here. Actual visitor minus synthetic visitor. If the marketing campaign was effective, the difference between Park 1 should not be big. is my point. Otherwise, the marketing campaign here was kind of some other trend, not marketing itself. So we have a gray line here. I plot the gray line. And here, now say Park 2 has marketing campaign, do the SCCM, find out the difference, and plot the difference using gray and gray here. Now we have a 3 gray line and 1 dark solid line. If marketing campaign was effective, solid line must be higher than those gray lines. Otherwise, we cannot say marketing campaign was effective, right? So now, as I said, because I have a 50 national park, I can have a 50. But I remove some poorly adjusted one. So that's why I'm using remove if the intervention period, the MSP is larger than 2 times the MSP for the SSM, I just remove that. So as you can see, we have many gray lines right here, meaning that marketing campaign was effective, but not the Zions National Park. As you can see, we have some gray line right there. That's the place for test. So we can say something in terms of probability or statistics.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Professor Kim,
Yes.
I have a small question about the selective weight of V you mentioned. Do we estimate the V or we just give the number?
V.
Yeah.
The V is, according to author of SCCM, the researcher can construct V using researcher's experience. So right here, as I said, V is another weight, right? If the national park in Utah, as I said, weather was the more important variable. If I believe so, then now I will put more weight on weather, meaning that W, the weight for the weather, will have a little bit larger one. So VM is another weight. That's the one way. The other way is that we can ask a computer to find out VM as well. So now, I do not have that part here. Now I have 3 more decision variables. No, I'm wrong. 2 more. One for Z, the other one for Y, 2010. The 2 V. So I have 2 more decision variable. So when you calculate the predictors, use those numbers as well and minimize that one.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I believe Stata is programmed that way. So the Stata find out VM, estimate V metrics as well. I'm pretty sure.
So you have to tell the computer which one you want to give the higher weight. Is that right?
If you want to do that, I believe you need to write a code. And Stata doesn't allow you to change the V matrix. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. If you want to have a different weight matrix, you have to write your own code using something else, like a MATLAB or some other optimization software.
I have one small question,
Sure.
Professor. SCM is just we try to set the control group, and then in this case we set from 50 parks, right, Professor?
Yeah, 45 national parks,
Yeah.
5 in Utah, 45 outside Utah. So we combine 45 national park and create, say, synthetic Zion National Park.
Yes. I just wondering that if another park, they already have some advertising.
That is
Which
very
is-
good. Yes,
yeah,
that is
which-
very good question, and I got that question a lot. What if say there's a national park outside, far away, like the northeastern part of the national park has a promotion campaign, that we should remove them because they have a promotion campaign. As far as I know, there was no marketing campaign. But I didn't visit all 45 national parks and find out. So I do not know.
So like,
As I hope not.
so in the end that we run the graph,
Uh-huh.
like, is that gonna say that is the poor control one, and then we delete that later?
Poor control unit will have 0 weight. So there are many zeros, of course, because I have 45 weights, and like 30 of them are 0 actually. So I have like 15 weights are positive, like 0.01, 0.02.
Yeah. But in the case that we know that another part has like the advertising, which is similar, like mighty 5 one, we better to delete that one, right, Professor? Before including to the control.
Yeah, you have to remove the park before running the model, of course. So you have to remove that from your data set. It should not be in your data set because it is contaminated somehow because they have the national park was exposed to the marketing advertisement.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other have a question?
Anyone have another question? You can ask. It's a good time now to. Doesn't matter you are undergraduates, students, or you are the graduate students, either the master or PhD. I think the Professor Kim tried to explain, the details for you. And even though you don't know the details of the models, at least you heard about something, yeah? For example, difference. Or today's, 5 national park. Yeah?
In Utah, yes.
Yeah, in Utah.
Mighty 5.
Yeah, Mighty 5.
Visit someday.
Yeah, so crowded, yeah? Especially there are many Chinese tourists to visit there, yeah? So maybe one day you want to visit there again. So that's all the good signs for you. I hope that you get something. But for the PhD student, I think tomorrow we still have the time to get together. So you get some basic ideas. So tonight, you maybe can read more, or think about it, or Google search, to say what is it. And tomorrow you can have a closer chat with the Professor Kim. And for the others, I hope that you keep every opportunity to come here, because we don't have, the financial support for you to visit the, outside of Taiwan, and also study in America is very, very expensive. So we are really very fortunate to invite the Professor Kim to come here and to share the research idea with us.
That's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. And this is the real idea. So from the beginning, you find good topics and interesting stories, and starting to build your models. And then you find a conclusion. You find that it's really just like you learn the economics 101. We say that in economics that you have the two purpose. Normally for economists that care about the positive statement. Do you remember? The other is normative statement. So you don't give any judgment. You don't have a judgment. So which one is good or bad? So he's a very good model for us to learn the economics. So I hope that this gives you some idea. You are very fortunate to have Professor Kim here.